Yo, what's up, dudes? Good morning. Right now it is Wednesday afternoon, around 1 o'clock, give or take. And I got the Squareback dropped off here on Sunday night, and to be honest, I have not even looked at it. It's kind of just the last thing I want to think about right now, and I haven't even looked at this side. Oh my god, dude. Terrible. Anyways, by now I should already have updated or uploaded my Type 3 rally video. It's a pretty long one, it's like over an hour, but yeah, I'm trying to capture as much as I can as possible just to have that whole weekend documented, because I mean there's not really much info on what exactly the Type 3 rally is, so I'm really hoping that my video kind of gives you some insight on what it is. Right now I'm gonna be waiting for the, what are those called? The appraiser, which I actually just got off the phone with him, and he's going to be coming to take a look at the extent of the damage here. I really want him to see exactly what's happening down here, because like I saw with the splines on the hub in here, they were completely trashed, and there's no way for him to really validate that unless the wheel is off. So we have come to an agreement to go ahead and take before and after pictures before I even take this apart, just so I can prove that this is how the car got here when I got it delivered. This car, I have it valued with insurance under full coverage for, I won't even really disclose how much I put this valued at, but I valued it at what I thought was gonna be the worth of this vehicle.
$1 million.
But anyways, the claim adjuster gave me a heads up that I probably should just be prepared in case they're gonna total or salvage this vehicle. And I told them the value that I put this car in is gonna be way, way higher than what I believe is the damage here. But I mean, I guess just to be on the safe side, he wants me to be just prepared for that. I would much rather have the car than the dollar amount that I set this value at, because it's just, I built this car from the ground up, all blood, sweat, and tears and everything, and yeah, I've lost blood building this car, and this car has way more sentimental value to me than monetary value. And I'm sure most of you, if not all of you that watch these videos, you guys can understand. Even by worst case scenario, even if they still try and push to total this car, I'm not gonna let it go. I mean, it's gonna suck, but I would rather just buy this car off of them and just continue building it, even with a salvage title, because this car means way too much to me. Like, I can't just get rid of it, you know? I've spoken to a pretty reputable shop. They've kind of given me a rough estimate on what the damage is gonna be, and it's really only gonna be a couple $1,000s or a few $1,000s, if that. I think this wheel flew out this way, and it ripped this out forward, and it kind of scraped the tire sidewall here. You can kind of feel that it's like, feels gritty, and pushed out this way, and I'm assuming it got caught here at one point, which pushed this up, and then as it flipped over, that's why I felt the car kind of go like that. It hit this somehow, and then eventually just kind of like tumbled all over the place. That is the extent of that damage on this fender. This wheel here, I just got this powder coated literally a few weeks ago, and it's pretty scraped up here. The center cap I still have inside. I don't even know where it is. I'll have to look for it. But that's pretty much what you can see here. Everything else is really kind of just like internal. I'm pretty sure my drum is bad now. My brakes are bad. This right here is what actually scares me the most. Is, let me see if I can see it. That shock tower or shock mount part is what really grazed the ground the most. The whole weight of the vehicle was hanging on that, and that's what it was dragging on the ground, and it's eaten up pretty much all of that. I mean, it still holds, but I kind of don't really want to trust that anymore. And what sucks is that is connected to the short axle tube from the Type 1 that I put in. So unfortunately, if this gets replaced, this whole thing needs to get replaced. Bummer. Coming up here to the front, it looks like right here it kind of dragged a little bit on this jacking point, but not really too bad. It pretty much was just like level enough to the point where even this wasn't dragging on the ground. And that's why you can see on the scrape in that video, there was just like one line of just scraping, and that's exactly where it was dragging on. Look at how far I slid. Golly. Golly. Okay, today's Wednesday, the day before the insurance guy comes and checks out the car. Just gonna remove the wheel so you can see the damage on the inside. The splines are completely done inside of this wheel hub, which actually comes separate from the drum. It's just being held on because of this adapter here. With everything on the driver's side already taken apart for the insurance guy to take a look, oh, just came off. I think I might as well just check the passenger side too, just to double check to see if that cotter pin that we put in is still intact. Oh, this one is also pretty loose. I'm pretty sure the cotter pin also broke off, because look how loose this is. Yeah, this cotter pin was on its way out. So the cotter pin is still intact. You can see how much this is shaking here. That's crazy. I'm not even gonna take that cotter pin out yet. I'm gonna let the insurance guy just take a look, just to show that the cotter pin is still intact, axle nut still there. This is eventually gonna come off if I had continued to drive it. Yeah, good thing I just got this towed back home. So after seeing what I see here, I kind of maybe have an idea what possibly could have happened. The splines in here eventually just wore out. Like you can see here, obviously it's like really bad. And that's what it was supposed to look like. So what I'm thinking is, because these splines here slowly started to deteriorate, regardless of how tight I put this nut, if this was still kind of rattling just ever so slightly like that, it may have just been enough to kind of loosen the axle nut. Like I'll show you on this other side over here, where you can see that this was 100% torqued down when I put this new cotter pin in. And you can see that I can even kind of move a little bit of this around because of possibly the spline on this hub in here. So because this is kind of rattling around, kind of moving around left and right, that probably caused this to back off just a tiny bit, eventually causing this cotter pin to like shear off. And then once that's off, and with this continuing to rattle, this axle nut eventually started to back out. And especially because on the driver's side, because of the rotation of the wheel going forward this way, and this axle nut wants to spin this way because of the wheel's rotation, eventually this started going that way to the point where this was just loose inside of my center cap on the wheel. So now because this is loose, the whole thing just flew off. That's what I think kind of happened. And I think on both occasions, with the passenger side loosening up, like this time is really loose. The first time I took it apart, this cotter pin was already gone, but this axle nut was still kind of just in there. So that's probably why this stayed here, because of the rotation of the wheel going this way. It kind of constantly held this somewhat in place, but still pretty loose, which is why it's wobbling. So in conclusion, if I was to take this drum and hub assembly off, I'm willing to bet that the splines on the inside there are also going to be in pretty bad shape. Actually, even taking a look at the bearing cap right here, I have my stock one right here. This is the Type 3 bearing cap, and this is the Type 1 bearing cap here. But you can see this metal washer thing right here that kind of holds in the wheel seal. Here looks like it's been pretty damaged just because of the amount of rattle that this has been pushing up against it. So it kind of sits like that. So because this was like rattling all over the place, or not this one, that one, because this was rattling all over the place there, this one here normally is up against this and eventually just kind of tore up this washer. So more than likely this is also going to need to be replaced on the inside. I don't know about the actual cap, but for sure on the insides, like the whole seal and like whatever situation in there, that's going to need to get replaced. Yeah, man, this sucks, dude. So with all that being said, I don't think the cotter pin was the root cause. I think the root cause was the bad splines that caused too much vibration and wiggling around and everything, and eventually broke that guy off, which pushed that guy out, which made that fly off along with that guy. And it was only a matter of time until this side would have flown off. Oh man, I'm just glad that like not both wheels flew off on the freeway. I mean, it sucks that one flew off already, but if both flew off, then I would have just been like in a ditch somewhere in the middle of nowhere. So still just grateful to be unscathed and still be alive to even continue recording these videos. So yeah, I'm really hoping insurance pulls through, man. All right, taking out the passenger side cotter pin just to inspect the condition of the hub splines in there. Okay, you can see the cotter pin is still intact. So I haven't taken that out. Look how loose it is already. See how it's still pretty tight, but this is showing loose? Yeah, you can see the splines have gone pretty bad. I'm just gonna show it on screen. So they've gone pretty narrow compared to my stock one. All right, so that last clip I recorded while the insurance appraiser guy was here, and he was kind of just watching me take this out because I wanted to prove that what I thought about these splines here was the case. And obviously these splines are donezo. Like, yeah, they're still there, but if you put it up against this stock one that I have here, the splines are just like way gone. And I think that because these are so small, this was never gonna be like fully tight on there. I mean, yeah, technically the axle nut could be tight. I mean, it took a few seconds for me to even zap that out, but it was tight enough to stay there, but it was able to kind of turn just ever so slightly like that. And that's why eventually the cotter pin just like got sheared off completely, and this was pretty much on its way out. So regardless what I would have done, kept replacing cotter pin, it would have gone bad anyways. I think what really needs to happen is to replace that hub there with another one, and that new one is going to need to get like shaved down in order for me to even fit onto the short spline axles. Insurance guy is going to call around some VW shops and get some quotes. I gave him a full list of what I think is going to need to get replaced. Like everything on here, like regular cars would take about like, I don't know, 4 to 5 days for them to get quotes and everything. But because this is a classic car and it's probably going to take some time looking for parts, he said expect maybe about a week or two. This is literally just going to sit exactly like this. Maybe I'll put the wheel back on just so I can shift it over and still have half a garage. Even then, I mean, I don't expect myself to be working on this too much. Also, he told me that if I wanted to, I can keep digging around, see if I find any other damage, and if I do, I can send pictures to him. I did also notice while he was here, this is kind of scraped a little bit, and I just added that to the list because at this point, if that's scraped, and then what if that starts to rust, and then I start having exhaust leaks and all that. So yeah, added that to the list. Here's a little bit more of a closer view of what I think the damage is on these hub splines. So this is the driver's side, this is the passenger side. And if you look up here, coming from the outside, the splines look kind of decent. I mean, it's obviously scraped up right here in the surface, but from the outside, it's really hard to tell like if these splines have gone bad or not because you're only looking at it from the front. And same thing here on the passenger side. It definitely looks like the same amount of thickness as the stock ones here. Like this is my stock one that came out of my Squareback. See how you can see those splines all the way down? That's exactly how they're supposed to look. Now, if we flip this over and you start to look all the way in there, it's just completely eaten up. I mean, the driver's side got like really bad. Here on the passenger side, I mean, yeah, this is pretty bad too. It goes all the way down there, and then like a tiny like millimeter left over there on the very front end. So yeah, again, this is just really difficult to even tell from outside. I think really the only way to have found out was if I had lifted up the car and then just try to wiggle the wheel forward and backward, and if it had play, then it would have been obvious that these were bad. But that's not something I thought of course, before driving this, because I just put it back together assuming everything was going to be okay. I mean, I did go through like a number of driving tests and stuff, but this is just one of those freak incidents that it kind of just goes unnoticed until unfortunately it happens. So I'm just glad that where it did happen, I was safe and everybody else was safe. I'm probably just going to end this video here. I think this video really is more so just like the aftermath of everything and pretty much what damage had happened after this accident. And of course, just my guess on what it's going to take to get this car back on the road. But soon enough, it is going to get back on the road. It's just a matter of time. So again, thanks for following along, guys. Appreciate you guys. See you on the next one.